Hmm. Okay. So yeah, the one that I covered as. Hmm.
Out of this, I could see that 10% is just a new trend which you have covered. 90% old stuff is still 5 years old or 6, 7 years old. I'm sure a lot of people, they have worked in service industry,
Yeah.
so they are aware of this fact. But what is your view on the next 3 years? What's going to happen? Have you done any analysis from the KPMG side, like Forrester or Gartner they are doing? Like is model-based testing is going to be the next piece of cake for me? Okay, or should I go for exploratory testing going forward in order to address some voice of the customers, faster time to market, something of that sort?
Yeah, let me address that actually. I think what we talked about is the current trends and some extent the future in terms of areas. Now, when you're talking about methods for testing, yeah, so yeah, yeah.
What is the methodology that we are putting on the table, or what is the thought process we are bringing on the table to for faster time to the market?
Okay.
Right. Say cross-browser testing. That's again a challenge for everyone, and I'm sure Rex will agree with that. Cross-browser testing is a challenge for everyone. What is the solution that we have today, or what? How can I use Selenium for that matter?
Okay, I think just to set the context, the talk that we have here is the global trends in testing and not so much covering the methods actually. We do have data and material on that, but here the context was because from a user community, what are the in things today and what would be the future investment, which is the mobile, cloud, and what would be the repercussion. That's what we wanted to cover. If we ask us whether we have material on the model base, I think I had fair amount of slides on it, but didn't want to cover risk-based testing and methods what are adopted by different industries. We do have it. Maybe we can share it as a separate forum actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Mm. Yeah.
At one point of time, there is a strong drive to reduce that to 10%. But somehow, so far we are not succeeded.
Okay.
Though when the gentleman mentioned about that HP is not doing automation, that is not correct.
No, yeah. See, I think, yeah. See, I think we don't see that actually. I think people are taking more care from a testing perspective because this industry is. Yeah, okay. The question was, in the industry, are you seeing pressures on testing budgets itself? And people saying you are spending 30%, I need to bring it down to 20%, those kind of thing. That's precisely. I think, no, we are not seeing that as a general trend in the sense that people are taking more careful, they're giving more seriousness to testing. So I think the way this industry has evolved, if you look at our testing functions are there in all companies now. You name it IT division, there is a separate test manager, you would see that. So they're playing a significant investment there. But where they're seeing efficiency is through the test process part. Can I bring better efficiencies through doing it better in a structured way is one part. Automation, people are still grappling with. So they have been reached that state. They always think of automation, but it has not yielded results today. So to answer your question, we don't see that. We're seeing a lot more companies taking care of more things. I can talk about one bank in Europe, where they carved out almost like a testing function which had 500 people. I'm sure some of the IT services companies are dealing with those kind of things. And these banks, from a mobility and reaching out to clients, they need to be much faster. So that's the trend that we are seeing. Yeah, please.
So one of the biggest challenges that I've seen is quality assurance is being looked up always with a cost
Yeah,
angle,
with the
right?
cost angle.
So, so I mean, all through my career, I have looked at two metrics: test effectiveness and test efficiency. But what that means is you're effective, great. Your efficiency is great. Reduce the team member by 1. That's what it gets to.
Okay.
So, what do you think are the metrics that probably to Rex or all you guys? What do you think that the metrics that we have to metrics model that you have to build so that our team's quality and quantity remains unchanged from a QA angle?
Yeah.
If I have to add a funny picture to it, I myself have moved from US to Singapore to Bangalore, and I said no to China as well.
Rajesh, you want to?
Not just the efficiency about how well you do that and effectiveness is how you do it. But efficacy is a combination of that. Does your metric actually meet the purpose it will be? It's no point churning out a number of metrics that you have. So you might have hundreds of metrics. I've seen organizations of 143 metrics. Are you able to hear me? Yeah. So I've seen organizations who have 143 metrics but serving no purpose. But the organizations which have no metrics but actually delivering quality software. So to answer your question, yes, we need to arrive at a dimension called efficacy, which actually combines metrics, the efficiency and the effectiveness. If you're just checking test productivity, you are checking whether a person delivers X amount of test cases per day, to simplest of examples. And if you're checking at the bug ratio, you actually are verifying, do you have enough bug ratios? But is there a metric which you have which combines the productivity with your defect in your organization? And have you ever thought of actually combining those two to do that? So those are the type of metrics you need to do that. So we call this efficacy. Probably you can have a separate session when we do that. And that's one area which you're going. So probably it might answer your question also, sir. Probably when you ask what is that we are doing. So see, it's good to reveal something which actually covered something. So we actually are working on some areas where, like, see, test consulting is one area which is booming up. So if you actually take a parallel, like Rex did, a domain, for example, manufacturing or even industry like aerospace. So it has to reach a particular methodology where it reaches. So there are two groups of people who do that. One is the guiding light, and the other is a radar, we call it. So somebody has to stabilize, and like in a defense or aerospace, somebody has to make sure that the process is set. Safety is a critical aspect, but that should not stop you from launching another safety link. So these are the trends which you see in the future. So test consulting is one area which is booming, and we actually had projected a lot of slides in the areas where you actually had data which is projecting towards TMMI. So if you actually split into the management layer, the actual strategy layer, management layer, and the defect layer. The management layer is moving more to the process. TMM, we had covered that. TPI, the process layer. You actually talked about the process layer, the actual execution layer where it came to automation. There's new trends called automate the automation. I'm sure in HP, you would actually had tools which design the test cases itself. See, test design creation was one area where we thought it might not be automated, but now test cases themselves are being automated. You have automated test case generation tools. So that is one tool. Then you have testing tools which doesn't have scripts. User interface allows even a business user to directly do automation. So those are the middle layer. And on the bottom layer, on the metrics, you have new automation tools coming, new technology. I think we had covered that. So those are some areas which will be useful for you. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree to that, but tied to that, my question is, right, slightly related to him, right? See, we are getting the thing, right, the picture, right, okay. Earlier it is like if you take 30% is the testing amount of the development and whatever it is, and then even on-site and global delivery model, right, on-siting and offshoring, right? Now even that also we have to make it less. Instead of 20%, 80% offshore, they're saying 90% or 95% offshore, right? Let the QA expert go for a month and then come back and then execute it, right? So, I mean, we see an increasing trend you are saying, but both looks like it is not matching where it is actually industry is not focusing there, and always testers and these people are being estimated as a low cost kind of role. Which is,
I think we did some price benchmarking as well some time back with respect to test professional. Overall, the rates are not significantly lower than the development. So that's one part of it. But what I'm saying is also that the pressure to improve that 30% to 25% will automatically come. The reason is the clients are looking for, so for example, they are trying to save costs from the IT budget. So today if they spend X on the sort of testing, they would say tomorrow with the same efficiency, can you offer more? That 20% productivity expectations are there now. So how you do it, I think we can't be escaping that fact. Now the other concept that IT companies are grappling with is non-linear based growth. So it is just not that proportionate that you grow. If you look at revenues of all major IT companies or division, number of people translates to revenue. That model is going to change. So can you bring efficiencies through your process, tools, those things would come up. Actually, the pressure would be there. Now, where the budget is increasing is, testing was always done as part of development. Now that carve out is happening. It takes a bit more time. That separate functions, that's what I was saying, many of the IT divisions have testing as a function, then they would look at outsourcing it, that's the way it would evolve. That carve out is having, and that carve out will increase that percentage. That's where it, but efficiencies you will have to improve. That
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I think we have to take further questions offline. We're just running out of time. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll take that offline. So, thank you, Prashant.
Think, yeah.
Raja, you want to take the last one? Thanks. Next, I would like to call upon Rex.
Morning again. Can you hear me? Yeah. So, earlier this morning when I did my keynote, I was talking about trends and trying to look forward. And this is something completely different. This is about looking inward and about looking across in the sense of thinking about how you think about your job as a test professional and how you relate to other people, specifically your stakeholders and other project participants. Are you this guy? Evil Darth Vader? Scary guy? People run away when they see you coming? They think you're going to do this little hand motion and choke them or something? Or are you more like this guy, Gandalf, guiding them through the dangerous wilderness? Okay. Now, these are kind of funny visual metaphors, but this stuff actually matters. If how you relate to other people in your organization is a big deal. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Believe it or not, this issue of relationship and how you relate to your fellow professionals in the project and in the broader organization is as important to your success as a test professional, or if you're managing a test team, the success of your test team, as competence is. Okay, which is not really a shock. I'm not saying anything new there. Basically, what I'm saying is that the soft skills and how you manage your relationships is just as important as the hard skills. You need both. You can't be a super talented jerk and be successful, okay? I mean, I think there are some people that get away with that or have gotten away with that. I mean, Steve Jobs, for example, was a notoriously difficult person to get along with. But I doubt that any of you are running a multi-billion-dollar multinational company right now, right? So Steve Jobs was able to get away with it because of where he was. He was at the pinnacle, okay? But we, as test professionals, provide services to other people in the project. And so the way in which those services are delivered is just as important as the competence, okay? If people are afraid of you, if you are the feared enforcer, you will not be a popular person, and my experience is that you will probably not be very successful. So the better role to want to see yourself in is this trusted partner. How can I help the project succeed? How can I help the organization succeed? So let's look at that. So, traps that I have seen test managers, test directors, and individual test professionals fall into. One is the process cop, okay? I'll explain that in a minute. Next is the quality cop. Explain that one as well. And then there is the clash of the titans problem, battle of the egos. I'll explain each one of these. Now, I'm not saying that these are, that people necessarily fall cleanly into one or the other of these if you're having relationship problems, and I'm not putting these forward as an exhaustive list of relationship issues that can affect the test professional, but they're definitely things that happen, and they happen a lot more frequently than they have to. So let's take a look here. So, process cop. What is a process cop? A process cop is somebody who is really, really sure that following some predetermined process is the only path to delivering quality software. And further, takes it upon him or herself to be the one who enforces that. So the problem is not the belief that process matters. I believe process matters. I think that organizations that work in sloppy ad hoc ways produce sloppy, crappy quality products, okay? But the question is it your job as a test professional to make sure that everybody follows the process that would produce better quality software? Is it your job to determine the process? See, I've heard things like this during doing assessments for clients. So some test manager saying something like, you know, unless you have a waiver from the CIO, you can't skip the code review. This would be a director of testing or a manager of testing. Well, wait a minute. Isn't the whole issue of, code review, that's a development activity, right? Yeah? So really, it's kind of between the development manager and the CIO, right? If the CIO or the vice president of product development or whatever wants to say these things have to happen, okay. But again, that's between those two individuals, right? The development manager, CIO. If you're in the middle of that, you know, my question to you would be, why are you in the middle of that? Did you get put in the middle of that, or did you put yourself in the middle of that? You see the difference that the distinction I'm making there? Now, it can happen that you get put in the middle of that. So I've run into this where people get assigned to be the enforcer of process in the test management role, but then they don't get the support that they need to carry that role out. Something you want to do. Okay? Now, quality cop. Quality cop is a little different. The quality cop is someone who's not necessarily focused on process, they're focused on outcome. All right? Now, you could say, well, certainly that's good. We want to be focused on the quality outcome. Yeah. But the problem comes up with the enforcement, okay? That's the cop bit. See, it's okay to be a quality geek, right? I'm a quality geek. It drives me nuts when things don't work right. And I seem to be a bug magnet, too. You ever notice that? It's like part of being a professional tester. You know, I don't have to go looking for them. They jump out at me. I was walking down an aisle in an electronics shop once looking for a router, and I noticed that on the side of the router box, it was very proudly talking about their quality of service for the router, except that it was QAULITY. Now, if there's a word not to misspell, it'd be quality, right? So like I said, that stuff jumps out at me, and it bothers me. Maybe it doesn't bother other people. So I'm not saying don't care about quality. Obviously, you can't be a successful tester if you don't care about quality. And you have to be detail-oriented and so forth. But it's the enforcement that's going to create the disconnect, the static, the problem. Okay? So if you've ever made this comment in a project meeting towards the end when some business-based release decision was being made, and you say, we want to be on the record as opposed